ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवम् साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिका कान्ता राधा कान्त नमोऽस्तुते। तप्त काञ्चन गौरांगी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन् इति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जयो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधरा श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. In the last class, we have seen the first part of 18th chapter. In that, in the beginning, Arjuna is asking the question, what is the difference between sannyasa and tyaga? Krishna first gives the opinion of Shastra and other sages, and then Krishna gives his own opinion, and he concludes that the three things should not be given. The yajna, dana, and tapa. These are the three things which one should not give up, because that is pavanani manishinaha. These three things will purify the great people. Even the sages also has to do this yajna, dana, and tapa. And also we have seen in Krishna consciousness how we can perform yajna, dana, and tapa. All these things we have seen. And also after that, what if somebody doesn't perform this tyaga? Then there will be three results: ishta, anishta, and mishra. And then Krishna explains how a person has to perform the activity without getting entangled. And for that, he is analyzing the karma, the activity. For an activity to be performed, there are 5 causes: adhishtanam, katakaranam, cheshta, daiva. These are the 5. And one who doesn't see the Lord's hand in it, and one who sees he himself to be everything, then he gets entangled. But a person who understands that I am not the doer, actually the modes of material nature is the actual doer, then he will not get entangled. And then Krishna also explains why the living entity cannot do the activity. The living entity only desires to act or to perform any activity, but he himself is not capable of performing any activity. Those things are explained, and that is through karma chodana and karma sangraha. Text number 18. What are the motivations for karma, the activity, and what are the constituents of karma? And after that, from 19th text onwards, Krishna explains how these 3 modes are making a person to act. Based on the 3 modes, he is explaining the jnana, karma, karta, buddhi, driti, sukha, all these things, up to the text number 39. So these 3 modes, sattva, rajas, and tamas, goodness, passion, and ignorance, they will bind everyone, irrespective of human beings or demigods or demons. Everyone is under these 3 modes. Only one who is liberated, one who is a pure devotee of Krishna, he can get liberated from this. Other than that, In this material world, everyone is under the influence of all the three modes, and one among them will be more prominent, because of which he will be identified with that mode. Now, continuing further, text number 49.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, are you sharing the screen?
No, Mataji, not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, I hope everyone has Bhagavad Gita with you.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Yes, Prabhu.
So, in the text number 48, Krishna says that Sahajam karma kaunteya sadoshamapi na tyajet sarvarambha hi doshena dhumena agni rivavrita. This is after explaining the varnashrama dharma, how a person should choose the varna and ashrama according to his tendency. He has to act in that way. And while acting in that manner, the person should not get bewildered by comparing himself with others. Every activity has one or the other difficulty, one or the other problem. What is that problem? Either a person is a Brahmana or a Kshatriya or a Vaishya or a Shudra. Every activity will have some difficulty. What are they? Every endeavor is covered by some fault, just as fire is covered by smoke. Therefore, one should not give up the work born of his nature, O son of Kunti, even if such work is full of fault. Whenever we act in this material world, it will have certain fault in that activity. It is compared to the smoke which covers the flame or fire. Fire, when you start the fire, there will be smoke. The fire will be covered with the smoke. But we don't want the smoke. We need the fire. But we cannot say, I need only fire. I don't want smoke. Because smoke comes as a part of the fire itself. But then, when the fire becomes more and more intense, when it is blazing, then the smoke will go away, or its presence will become very, very insignificant. And the fire will give the light and heat, which is useful in performing the activity. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains how this smoke covers the fire. That is, in Brahmana, for a Brahmana, when he performs the yajna, the performance of austerity, the performance of sacrifice, in earlier days, there were animal killing. So this killing business is not a very good business, or it is not very easy job. So that some kind of ghastly scene, it will be created. And for a Kshatriya, he has to become diplomatic. He has to fight with the enemies. He cannot treat everyone as his friends, because there will be some enemies in his political dealings. So for such people, he has to deal with them like an enemy only. And for a merchant, he has to hide his profit. The profit what we make, he will say that I am making business without making any profit. I am giving up all the profit for my customers only. I am keeping zero profit for me. But that is not that is not called as business. Nobody can make his life without making any profit from the business. So that is not possible. So that is a lie, what he says. And also the Brahmana, the Shudra, who is having a master who is not a good person, who is very cruel, or one who is doing all wrong things. Such master also, he may need to serve sometimes. So he cannot give up. So these all are like smoke covering the fire. You will not get only the good result, you will get some bad result also. So Krishna is telling here, don't give up. Continue your work, even though it is filled with a certain amount of contamination. That fault will be there, but still you have to continue. Next, continuing further, in the text number 49. Asakta buddhi sarvatra jitatma vigata spriha naishkarmya siddhim paramam sannyasenadi gacchati. One who is self-controlled and unattached, and who disregards all material enjoyments, can obtain, by practice of renunciation, the highest perfect stage of freedom from reaction. In the 6th chapter, that is Dhyana Yoga of Bhagavad Gita, we have heard two words. One is called Yoga Rurukshu, other one is called Yoga Rudha. Yoga Rurukshu is the beginner, Yoga Rudha is the advanced yogi. So here, the Yoga Rurukshu state, in one who is in the Yoga Rurukshu state or one who is in the beginning state, he is capable of giving the result of his activity or the performance, the doership in the activity, he can give up, Yoga Rurukshu. And one who has completely renounced, one who doesn't have any attachment, he is called as Yoga Rudha. So such people are called Yoga Rudha, who can give up the activities completely. So this is also explained in the 3rd chapter. Yastvatma ratireva syat. One who is satisfied in himself has no fear of any kind of reaction from his activity. So that is the Yoga Rudha state. So this state a person can reach only after performing the prescribed duties in the Varnashrama system based on the mode in which he is situated. But a person who practices Krishna consciousness, he can surpass all these stages. He can directly come to the devotional state that we'll discuss in the next coming portion. Now, after this, Krishna will explain what are the characteristics of that particular person, how he will be acting. So that is given here. Siddhim prapto yatha brahma tatapnoti nibhodame samasenaiva kaunteya nishta jnanasya yapara. O son of Kunti, learn from me how one who has achieved this perfection can attain to the supreme perfectional stage, Brahman, the stage of highest knowledge, by acting in the way I shall now summarize. As we know, the God realization begins with the Brahman, then Paramatma, then comes Bhagavan realization. Vadanti tat tattva vidas tattvam yajnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti shabdyate. So here also, when a person comes to the perfection in his activities, even though there is fault in his activity, if he continues to perform the activities for the pleasure of the Lord, then he will come to the Brahman realization. He will be able to attain that state of Brahman. And these are the characteristics of that person who has come to the Brahman state. Buddhya vishuddhaya yukto dhrityatmanam niyamyacha shabdadin vishayan tyaktva ragadvesho vidasyacha viviktas sevi laghvashi yatavakaya manasaha dhyana yoga paro nityam vairagyam samupashritaha ahankaram balam darpam kamam krodham parigraham vimuchya nirmama shanto brahma bhuyaya kalpate. So this is the nature of a person who has achieved the Brahman realization. Would anybody like to read? They can raise their hand. Read the translation. Lata Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Translation by Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Being purified by the intelligence and controlling the mind with determination, giving up the objects of sense gratification, being freed from attachment and hatred, one who lives in the secluded place, who eats little, who controls his body, mind, and power of speech, who is always in trance, and who is detached, free from the false ego, false strength, false pride, lust, anger, and acceptance of material things, free from false proprietorship, and peaceful, such a person is certainly elevated in the position of self-realization.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank
These
you.
are the characteristics of a person who has come to the Brahman realization. Now, the ultimate guidance or the teachings of Krishna to Arjuna is Bhakti. So in the next text, Krishna is explaining how after coming to the Brahma Bhuta state, a person can go to Bhakti or devotional service to the Lord. That is explained in the next text, because Brahman realization is incomplete. It is compared to the understanding of the sunlight. And Paramatma realization is the sun planet. And Bhagavan realization is the sun god, or the personal aspect of the sun. So unless you go up to the point of understanding the sun god, our understanding is incomplete. The next Krishna explains how a Brahma Bhuta state person can reach to the devotional service to the Supreme Lord. Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma na shochati na kanshati sama sarveshu bhuteshu madbhaktim labhate param. So Krishna is telling the word here, bhaktim. A person, this is a very long process, what is being explained here, because this is a general process for everyone. Unlike a person who is very fortunate to get the association of devotees and performs devotional service directly, he can quickly come to the bhakti state. But this process, whatever Krishna has explained here, which begins with the performance of varnashrama activities, gradually after performing this for so many lifetimes, he has to go through that. Then he will come to the Brahman state, and then when a person comes to he's get situated in this Brahman realization, he can come to the bhakti. That is also by the mercy of the Lord. One who is thus transcendentally situated at once realizes the Supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. And he never laments or desires to have anything. He is equally disposed toward every living entity. In that state, he attains pure devotional service unto me. So that is how a person can come to the devotional service of the Lord. That is through Brahman realization. The Brahman realization, it has the complete realization of the Lord has three aspects. That is Sat, Chit, and Ananda. In the Brahman realization, a person will realize the Sat portion of the this God realization. That is, he will see everything as the part and parcel of the Lord, and he can see the presence of the Lord everywhere in the material nature. Wherever he sees, he can see the Lord's hand in it. Just like ordinary people, they will try to explain the phenomena that is occurring in the nature as a science or as an accident, or it is like it just happens by nature. So that way they speak. It's a atheistic way of explaining the activities, even though they don't have complete knowledge about it. But a person who has realized Brahman, he can see the Lord's presence in each and every place, not directly as a person, but as a energy, or as a controller, or everything is working, or everything is going on under the guidance of the Lord, even though he is not visible. Just like the pearls are tied with the thread. The Lord is like a thread, sutre manigana iva. So in that way, he can realize that state, and he will become joyful at that state. Only by understanding, only by coming to the bhakti, a person can understand Krishna. That is the necessity. Unless a person comes to bhakti, even though he practices a lot of the austerities or sacrifices, penances, all these things, even if you do, if a person doesn't come to the level of bhakti, it remains incomplete. Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yaschasmi tattvataha tato mam tattvato jnatva vishate tat anantaram. One can understand me as I am, as a Supreme Personality of Godhead, only by devotional service. And when one is in full consciousness of me, by such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. So that is how a person go back to Godhead, by understanding or by realizing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the goal of every devotee, going back to Godhead. One can enter, one becomes eligible for going back to Godhead by performing devotional service. You can read that translation, the purport by Srila Prabhupada, which is given elaborately. Next, in the 56th up to 66th verse, this is the last portion of instruction by Krishna to Arjuna. He is explaining about the pure bhakti, that is acting in Krishna consciousness. How a person can perform the pure devotional service. This also includes a certain portion from the 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, that is Raja Vidya Rajaguhya Yoga, which explains directly how a person should perform devotional service. That is also included in this portion, that is text number 56 to 66. This portion is called pure bhakti. So this is the Sarva Karmanyapi Sada Kurvano Madvyapashrayaha Matprasadat Avapnoti Shashvatam Padam Avyayam. Though engaged in all kinds of activity, my pure devotee under my protection reaches the eternal and imperishable abode by my grace. So this is Krishna is speaking to Arjuna, where Arjuna, even though he is acting or he is performing all kinds of activity as a Kshatriya, he is killing all the opponents, all the enemies. Even though he is doing all these things, because Krishna has given him instruction to do so, he will not get any reaction, and he is not attached to the work which he is performing. He is not attached to the results of that work also. So because of that, because he is a instrument in the hands of Krishna, Nimitta Matram Bhavasavya Sachin, the person can easily escape, or he can keep the reactions of the work away from him, and he will not get entangled. He will be able to go back to Godhead. (57) Chetasa sarva karmani mai sanyasya matparaha buddhiyogam machitta satam bhava. In all activities, just depend upon me and work always under my protection. In such devotion service, be fully conscious of me. This is instruction Krishna is giving to Arjuna, and it is instruction for all of us. So whenever we perform any activity, we should do as a service to Krishna, under Krishna's protection. One should not forget Krishna. At the same time, a person has to perform his activities. Mam anusmara yudhyacha. That is, Arjuna has to fight. Along with that, he has to remember Krishna. So remembering Krishna and fighting should happen together. So even in this material world, we do so many activities every day. So when we are performing these kinds of activities, we should not forget Krishna. We should keep Krishna in our mind, and then we have to perform the activity. Now the question may arise, where how is that possible? When we are remembering Krishna, how we can perform our activity properly? It can distract us, or we may not be able to remember Krishna properly. So any one thing we can do at a time, either remembering Krishna or doing the activity. So how to do this? It is like how the parents are remembering their children. The parents, even though they are working morning to evening, they will not forget their child. Why? Because the result of their activity, whatever they are earning, whatever their profit they are getting, it is the first benefit will be given to the child. Everything that they do, it is for the benefit of the children. Similarly, whatever activities we are doing, if we keep Krishna in the center, why I am doing all this? I am doing it as a service to Krishna. Why I am eating? I am keeping my body fit so that I can serve Krishna. In that way, if we perform all the activities as a service to Krishna, then there is no danger of forgetting Krishna. We can remember him all the time. So that is how a person has to cultivate devotional service when a person is within this material world. Now, when we do this, what Krishna will do for us? Machitta sarva durgani matprasada tarishyasi ata chetvam ahankara na shroshyasi vinangshasi. If you become conscious of me, you will pass over all the obstacles of conditioned life by my grace. If, however, you do not work in such consciousness, but act through false ego, not hearing me, you will be lost. So this is a benediction as well as a warning. The devotional service is not a choice. It is for our own good. We have to perform it. If a person wants to perfect his life, if he wants to put a full stop for all his sufferings, then he has to perform devotional service. So as we go near to Krishna, one step, Krishna will also keep 10 steps towards us. What he does, he will remove all the obstacles of conditioned life, and he will make the path easy to go to him. And we can pass over all the difficulties which are present. That is Neha Vikramanashosti Pratyavayo na vidyate. Swalpamapyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. Mahato bhaya, all these big obstacles which comes in our devotional life, all these things will be removed at once, and we can go back to Godhead. Next, continuing 59. Yadahankaram ashritya na yotse iti manyase mithaisha vyavasayaste prakrutistvam niyokshasi. If you do not act according to my direction and do not fight, then you will be falsely directed. By your nature, you will have to be engaged in warfare. Arjuna, you cannot escape. Now he is telling that I don't want to fight this war because my own people will die. Okay, if you don't fight for that reason, you cannot say that you will not fight anytime, because fighting is your nature. You are a Kshatriya person with a Kshatriya spirit. Wherever there is some injustice going on, you will definitely go and fight there. So instead of doing that, you can fight here for the right cause and become a instrument in Krishna's hand, so that he can perfect his activities, and he can be a good example for all the people who are working for perfection. So that is Krishna is explaining to Arjuna. If you don't fight, then you will be lost. You will, and at the same time, again you will be forced to fight, because the Prakriti, which has the three modes, these three modes will make him to fight again. He cannot stop fighting. That fighting may or may not be proper, because it is not under the direction of Krishna. So this instruction, what Arjuna is getting directly from Krishna, this kind of opportunity comes for very, very few people. The war, it doesn't happen all the time. It happens very rarely. Just like in India also. India has not fought with the neighboring countries for so many years. So many people, they join the army and they retire without making any fight. So that may happen. And there are very few people who get the opportunity to fight. It is not that every year fighting will happen or every year war will happen. No. That's what Krishna also tells in the previous chapter, where this kind of war, the opportunity to fight for the right cause, it comes to very fortunate people. It doesn't come for everyone. So don't lose the opportunity. 60th one. Swabhavajena kaunteya nibhadda svena karmana kartum nechasi yanmoha karishyasya shopitat. Under illusion, you are now declining to act according to my direction. But compelled by the work born of your own nature, you will act all the same, O son of Kunti. This is based on the previous instruction that he has given. Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvashaha. Because Arjuna is a Kshatriya, and that Kshatriya spirit is there within him, he will fight at any cost. If not in Kurukshetra, he will fight somewhere else. And that, in that case, because it is not a direction from Krishna, it will not be as glorious as this one. So this fight, if he fights, he will become very glorious. This is anyone who voluntarily engages himself under the direction of the Supreme Lord becomes glorious. 61. Ishvara sarvabhutanam hriddeshe Arjuna tishtati bhamayam sarvabhutani yantrarudhani mayaya. The Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, O Arjuna, and is directing the wanderings of all the living entities who are seated as on a machine made of material energy. So this is the 61, 62, 63. These three texts are speaking about the surrendering process, surrendering to the super soul, the Paramatma who is present within the heart. So Krishna first explains where the super soul is situated. Sarvasya chaham hridisanni vishto. That is also explained in the 15th chapter. Now again Krishna is telling Ishvara sarvabhutanam hriddeshe Arjuna tishtati. So this is another proof to say that the Lord is present in the heart, in the region of heart of a living entity. Even the Jivatma, the living entity, is also present in the heart. So he is present, and what he is doing, he is giving the direction. He is seated on a machine, and which is made of the material energy. So whatever happens, it is happening according to the direction of the super soul. The super soul is continuously giving us the direction. Even we can also hear this super soul, but the problem is when a person becomes too much disturbed by the material desires, these material desires will create noise. Just like when we are having too much desire, very strong desire to perform, then our intelligence doesn't work, or we don't hear anybody else. We just act, and after acting, we will think whether it is correct or not. So this is because of the material desire. The living entity, the Jivatma, has unlimited material desires, and because of that desire, he is creating so much of noise, and he is not able to hear what the Paramatma is dictating or what the Paramatma is giving the direction. Now, when a person becomes calm, or when all his material desires are removed, and when he dovetail it in the service of the Lord, then he can hear the instruction of the Paramatma. Otherwise, Paramatma is giving instruction to each and every person, but we are not able to take that instruction. We are not qualified to hear that instruction. By hearing this Paramatma, one can surrender to him. 62. Tameva sharanam gaccha sarvabhavena bharata. Tatprasadat param shantim sthanam prapsasi shashvatam. O sign of Bharata, surrender unto him utterly. By his grace, you will attain transcendental peace and the supreme and eternal abode. By surrendering to the Paramatma feature of the Lord, this is the Paramatma realization, a person can get free from all the entanglement in this material world. Itite jnanam akhyatam guhyad guhyataram maya vimrushyate asheshena yate ichchasi tatha kuru. This is the character of a good teacher. So after telling everything, Krishna is telling Arjuna, thus I have explained you knowledge still more confidential. Deliberate on this fully, and then do what you wish to do. So Krishna is telling Arjuna, whatever I wanted to tell you, I have told. Now it is up to you. You think about it and take your decision. So this freedom is given to Arjuna, and this freedom is given even to the living entity. When a living entity is present within this material world, he will be given all the instructions. He will be able to understand or take the association of the devotees or the people who guides him. All these things are available, but still the Jivatma, the living entity, has the freedom to take the final decision. So that freedom, that small freedom, the Lord will not take away. So by using that freedom, a person has to surrender to Krishna. That is called surrender. Complete, utterly one has to surrender to Krishna. Next, from text number 64 onwards, or from the 65, It is talking about the essence of Bhagavad Gita. Sarvaguhyatamam bhuya shrunume paramam vachaha ishtosi me dhridamiti tato vakshyami tehitam. Because you are my very dear friend, I am speaking to you my supreme instruction, the most confidential knowledge of all. Hear this from me, for it is for your benefit. This is the, once again, Krishna is repeating whatever he wants to say. That is the 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, whatever he has told. He will repeat it here once again. That is Manmana Bhavamad Bhakto Madhyaji Mam Namaskuru Mame Vaishisi Satyam Te Pratijane Priyosime. This is the final instruction. Once again, Krishna is telling you have to do 4 things. What are they? Always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, and offer your homage unto me. Thus, you will come to me without fail. I promise you this because you are my very dear friend. This is the instruction that Krishna is giving to Arjuna. So what is the result of understanding Bhagavad Gita? A person learns to surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the most confidential knowledge. And this is the most famous shloka of Bhagavad Gita. Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma shuchaha. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. So this is the surrendering process in which in the purport Prabhupada explains what are the 6 symptoms of a person who has surrendered. Anukulyasya sankalpa pratikulyasya varjanam. A person, when he is surrendering to Krishna, he has to accept what is favorable to bhakti and he has to give up what is unfavorable to the bhakti. Rakshasiti iti vishwaso. Always remember that Krishna will protect us at all the time. Then Goptritve Varanam Tata. Krishna will protect him. There is no need of thinking how one should keep him, body and soul together. Krishna will see to that. That is the Rakshasiti iti Vishwaso. And one should always think himself as helpless and should consider Krishna the only basis for his progress in life. As soon as one seriously engages himself in devotional service to the Lord in full Krishna consciousness, at once he becomes freed from all contamination of material nature. There are different processes of religion. Okay, this is about the surrendering. Then Prabhupada speaks about what are the how to surrender. So different religious and purificatory process by cultivation of knowledge, that is Jnana Yoga, meditation, Dhyana Yoga, or Ashtanga Yoga. All these things are there. But one who surrender to Krishna, he don't have to execute any of these methods. He can directly come to the devotional life of devotion to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, he can make all the progress at once and free from the all sinful reaction. So this is the final instruction of Krishna to Arjuna. After saying this, Krishna will explain how to study the Bhagavad Gita and how one has to read Bhagavad Gita and the glory of studying and teaching Bhagavad Gita. All these things are explained in the last portion of Bhagavad Gita. So at the text number 66, Krishna has given the final instruction to Arjuna. Let me open the PPT. Now, qualities of a Bhakti Shastri. After learning Bhakti Shastri course, one should be able to understand the importance of surrendering to Krishna, that attitude of surrender. That is the final instruction of Krishna. Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam braja. Just surrender unto me. So that Sharanagati is explained here. Puja Mataji, you can read.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Yes, Mataji.
Yeah. Saranagatihi, the attitude of surrender. The Lord comes here to re-establish the principles of religion, and the basic principle is the development of an attitude of surrender to Him. This is the Lord's last instruction in the Bhagavad Gita. Sarva dharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja. Give up all other processes and just surrender unto me alone. Shri Ishopanishad Mantra 14 purport. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mataji. Now, identify the verses from chapter 18. What is the relevance for us? So, 55 to 78. This was your the reading activity which I had shared earlier. It is talking about pure bhakti and also the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita. So 55 to 60 is talking about bhakti and buddhi yoga. 61 to 63 surrender into the super soul. Then 64 to 66 surrender to Krishna directly. And 67 to 71 talks about reaching Krishna consciousness. And 72 to 78, Arjuna is fixed in his decision and he is going to fight. So let us do this activity now. There are 11 people and here we have 5. So I'll make 5 groups. Each group will get 2 people each.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, please make 3 groups or something like that, because sometimes people don't join the group and we are alone.
Okay. But we have to mix here then. Bhakti and buddhi yoga, surrender to super soul, surrender to Krishna. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, then 55 to 63, one group. 64 to 71, one group. 72 to 78. Last portion will make another group. So group number 1, group number 2, and group number 3. Is that okay, Mataji?
Yes, yes, Prabhu, thank you so much.
Okay. You have 5 minutes for discussion and 2 minutes for presentation. The time starts now. Hope everyone has noted down the shloka. 55 to 63, one group. 64 to 71, another group. 72 to last, another group. Hare Krishna. Those who are presenting, please raise your hand. Anu Mataji, you can start.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, we got Shweta Mataji, Puja Mataji, and Neeta Mataji were there. They will add on later on.
Yes.
We got 64 to 66, 67 to 71. 64 to 66 talks about surrender to Krishna.
Yeah.
18.64 says, from our side, it is Sarva Bhuyatam Bhuya, the most confidential of all. So here Krishna is saying, he's giving the supreme instruction that he's going to give the most confidential of all, which will lead to our surrender to Krishna. Then 65, the key word from our side is Man Mana Bhava Mad Bhakto, which means always think of me. And 18.66 is keyword Sarva Dharma Parityaja, abandon all varieties of religion. That will lead to surrender to Krishna. So these three represent the key words leading, which are most confidential, most bhuitam, which eventually means surrender to Krishna after Brahma realization and Paramatma realization. Then 67 to 71 is preach Krishna consciousness. 67 says, idam te nata paksya nabhaktya kadachana. Then na cha shuru shave vachyam na cha mam yo abhyasyusi. The keyword is idam te nata paksya nabhaktya kadachana. This confidential knowledge may never be explained. Krishna is giving here caveats to this most confidential knowledge, that this confidential knowledge should never be explained to people who are not assured, devoted, or engaged in devotional service, or who are envious of Krishna. These are the few caveats he's giving. Then 68 is the keyword from our side is Ya idam paramam guhyam abhidasyate, for one who explains this supreme secret to devotees. So this is an add-on, a bonus. So Krishna says, for one who explains this supreme secret to devotees, pure devotional service is guaranteed, and at him he will come back to me. Then 18.69, he says, from the keyword from our side is Anya Privayatno, Anya Priyatro Bhuvi, dearer in this world. Krishna is saying that the most dear person is, there is no servant in this world more dear to me than he will be. Then these two texts are related. In previous one he says, who explains this, who does Krishna consciousness. Then he says, he is the most dear person. No one is above a person who preaches Krishna consciousness. Then 70 keyword is Dharmayam Samvadam Avyaya. He says this is the most sacred conversation of ours, and whoever worships me, whoever studies this, he's declaring that he's worshipping me by his intelligence. So Dharmayam Samvadam Avam, sacred conversation of our. 71 is Sa Api Muktaha, becomes free from sinful reactions. So Krishna is saying, who listens to me with faith and without envy also becomes free from sinful reactions and attains to auspicious planets where the pious dwell. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. There is some network problem. Hare Krishna. Am I audible?
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu. Thank you. Sorry, I didn't see that.
It's okay. It's okay. There is some power failure. That's why there is. Yeah. Okay. Mataji could. Okay. Yeah. Next one, we can continue.
Archana Mataji is continuing
Yes,
the same
Mataji.
words.
No, Harik, no, I am doing the last part, Mataji. I am from group 3.
Okay.
Sorry, Mataji.
So I think Anu Mataji's group, they said they are going to continue. Few
Okay.
more people are there na, to continue the points. Or I shall do that last part where Arjuna is getting fixed in his performing. Shall I continue that,
Yes,
Prabhuji?
yes, Mataji, you can continue. Later they can.
Yes, Prabhuji. Okay. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare
So here what happens is, in my group, we have Akila Mataji, Raghunath Prabhuji and Vijay Prabhuji. So after I do for few verses, Akila Mataji will be continuing, followed by
Yes.
others, Prabhuji. So here 72, now Krishna is, after explaining the entire Bhagavad Gita to Arjun, he is asking him, because he is a teacher, he want to ask him, he has to make sure whether he has understood whatever he has preached. So he is asking him, Arjuna, whether he has understood, and Arjuna replies that he has understood, and he says that he is ready to fight. So in that verse, what they say is, he's actually saying that I am going to obey your orders and I'm going to obey your instructions and I'm going to start with the fighting, my duty. So here they say every living entity has to obey the Supreme Master, and they have to be the servitor of any one, either Maya or Supreme Personality of Godhead. If they are servitor of Maya, then they are going to be materially entangled. They are always going to be taking taking the birth and death. They are going to continue this. If not, they are going to be liberated. And here they also say about how they can come out of Maya by following the Supreme Master's instructions. And Bhagavad Gita is not an ordinary book. It is spoken by Supreme God himself. So those who are reading this is sure to be liberated. That is also mentioned here, Prabhuji. And after all this, Sanjaya is saying these were the conversation that was happening between Arjuna and Sri Krishna. So those who are following, now Arjuna was acting as a living entity. He was obeying to Krishna's instruction, and he was ready to perform his duty with Krishna consciousness. So we will also read Bhagavad Gita or listen to the instructions of Lord Krishna as how Arjuna has listened, so that we can also lead our life in the liberated way. That is what Sanjaya is explaining to Dhritarashtra Prabhuji. The remaining Akila Mataji will continue. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Guruji.
Hare Krishna.
Here, Sanjaya, like actually he's.
Your voice is too low, Mataji.
Now how it is?
Now it's fine. Yeah.
See, here Sanjaya is actually thanking Vyasa because he has given the divine side, Divya Drishti. He is like thanking Vyasa, and he is like very excited because he heard that the most secret, most confidential, like that is the purpose of life. This Bhagavad Gita tells the purpose of life. Like just we have simply have come here. What is the purpose of life? After hearing this, he is completely excited, and he keep on. He's remembering that dialogue and everything, and again and taking the pleasure and getting thrilled. Thrilled and finally he addresses Sri Krishna as Yogeshwara, means Yoga Ishvara. In the sense, he is the supreme. After looking to Vishwarupa Darshana, everything he's concluding Yogeshwara. If where Yogeshwara is there, means there is victory, opulence, everything is there. So that's what it is. We can say that it is again the warning for Dhritarashtra, telling that so victory is there for Arjuna,
So because the Supreme Personality is there, again, if you want, like, you can, again, you can alter the decision. I think so. That's the finally conclusion he did, because the opulence, everything is with Arjuna. So the chances of victory towards Pandava, it is more strongly, it is my opinion, Sanjaya said. That's all. Audible, no, Guruji? Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mataji. Yeah, thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Yeah, next, Lata Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
In the verse 55, talks about the pure devotees, and he says that the Lord Supreme, you can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead only if you understand Krishna and his plenary positions, and you understand that unless you understand Krishna and you are in Krishna consciousness, you'll not be able to understand the plenary position of the Lord. And the ones who are under material contamination and mental speculation, they are non-devotees and they cannot understand the Lord, and they only the pure devotees will be in a position to understand the Lord. And by doing devotional services, a devotee can understand the transcendental qualities and the opulences of the Supreme Lord. And in verse 56, Krishna says that though you are engaged in all activities, you are my devotees, but you need to be under my protection. Only if you are under my protection, you'll be able to reach the eternal and the imperishable abode by his grace, by the Lord's grace. And he also talks about you have to be free from all material contamination, and a pure devotee should act under my direction so that you are able to reach the abode of the Lord. And in verse 57, it says that surrender all the activities to me. And only when you surrender all the activities and you are under my protection and then do a devotional services, you'll be fully conscious about my opulences, and you'll be able to reach the abode of the Lord. And if you become conscious of the Lord, then we will be passing off all our obstacles, because we are protected under his guidance, and we'll be able to do all the work under his guidance and with fully Krishna conscious state, and we'll pass away from the false ego and thinking that we are doing things. We'll be able to understand that when we surrender to the Lord, that he is the doer and we are following his instructions and carrying on the instructions and the directions given by the Lord, because the Lord rests in our heart and he'll be guiding us, and we follow the guidance, we'll be able to reach the supreme abode. And if we act according to his direction, and also says that, Arjuna, if you do not want to listen to me and act according to my directions, you will be falsely directed. Since you are a Kshatriya, you have to follow my direction. And as per your nature, you will have to be engaged in the warfare. And from 60 onwards, Siddharth Prabhuji will continue.
Yeah. Siddharth Prabhu, Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Surendranath Prabhuji will also add. So I'm just talking about 61. 61, there are 2-3 key words. One is Ishvara Sarvabhutanam Hriddeshe Arjuna. So here again, he is confirming that he's sitting in the heart of living being. So that part is there. But another important keyword is Yantra Rudhati Maya. So everyone is under the spell of Maya. And so therefore, ultimately, to get out of the Maya and how to get oneself released from this Maya, these 3 modes of nature, because there will be always some fault if we are under the spell of 3 modes of nature. So that is now the solution of 61 comes in 62, where Lord is saying, Tameva Sharanam Gacha Sarva Bhavena Bharata. So surrender unto me. And that is the sure way of getting out of this three modes of nature. And that is a sure way of liberation. There is no other way. Surrender unto me utterly, completely, not partially. And also there is a connect to the 5th chapter here, where the similar thing was talked about, where Sarvasya Chaham Prati Sannivistaha, same thing again repeated in this 61. So it is completely now confirmed that the Paramatma, in the Paramatma feature, he sits in the heart of every living being. And 63 is primarily as a teacher. He has become a wonderful teacher. He's saying that now that I've told you everything, all the things which is required for you, now you decide what to do. Yatachasi tatha guru. So whatever you want, yatachasi tatha guru. Whatever you want, you do. But by this time, I have already given you all the guhyatara, all the confidential knowledge to you. So that is what the 63 is talking about. As you like, you may act. So that indicates that God does not interface doesn't interfere with our activities, and also gives us freedom. And we have to use this freedom in becoming Krishna conscious. Hare Krishna. Surendranath Prabhuji, please add.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Surendranath Prabhu.
Yeah. Referring to text 57, in which it is under Krishna consciousness, one doesn't act as a master, but you have to act like a servant. You have to listen to the instructions given by the Supreme Lord. And here the important Sanskrit word matpara is applicable, in which the perfect Krishna consciousness is possible when one discharges his duty as ordered by Krishna. That is the 2 points which are covered up in 57.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Anybody else wants to add anything? Okay, let us continue. Shrunume paramam vachaha. This is the central point of Bhagavad Gita. Hear from me the supreme instruction. What is that? Manmana bhava mad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. This is coming 2 times in the Bhagavad Gita, 9th chapter and this chapter. So it is the most important instruction. Arjuna hears from Krishna. Think of me, become my devotee, worship me, offer your homage unto me. These are the 4 activities through which a person can perform devotional service to Krishna. Then Krishna says, you have to surrender to me. That is, Krishna is telling to Arjuna. Sarva dharman parityajya. So whatever obstacles are there, the whatever things which comes in between, you just abandon that and just surrender into me. Maam ekam sharanam raja. But then if there is any sinful reaction that comes because of that, Krishna will take care of it. So that is the final instruction that Krishna is giving to Arjuna. Siddharth Prabhu, you can read.
Hare Krishna, Pranam Prabhuji. Central point of Bhagavad Gita. Now, in summarizing Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that Arjuna should give up all the processes that have been explained to him. He should simply surrender to Krishna. In other words, devotional service to Krishna in full consciousness is the most confidential part of knowledge. And this is the essence of the whole Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, 66, Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Archana Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, central point of Bhagavad Gita. Instead of satisfying his own personal material senses, he has to satisfy the senses of the Lord. That is the highest perfection of life. The Lord wants this and he demands it. One has to understand this central point of Bhagavad Gita. Our Krishna consciousness movement is teaching the whole world this central point. Bhagavad Gita preface. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mataji. Krishna is the Supreme Father. He is demanding the living entity to surrender for our own benefit. These are the Shadvida Sharanagati, 6 characteristics of Sharanagati. Accept everything favorable, reject the unfavorable, and be firmly convinced that Krishna will be giving protection, and firm conviction, no maintain other than Krishna, and then self-surrender, that is, acts and things as Krishna desires. Whatever Krishna's desire is there, accordingly the devotee will act. Finally, the humility, Karpanni. These are the 6 characteristics of Sharanagati. Puja Mataji.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes.
One must become a devotee of Krishna, and the essence of all the religion is to surrender unto Krishna. The last instruction of the Gita is the last word in all morality and religion. Surrender unto Krishna. This is the essence of the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita 17.78 perfect. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mataji. Bhagavad Gita, if anybody understood Bhagavad Gita, means they should be able to surrender to Krishna, or at least they should understand that surrendering to Krishna is the perfection of life. Then only a person can claim himself to be understood Bhagavad Gita. Otherwise, if you say Bhagavad Gita minus Krishna, I have learned Bhagavad Gita, but I don't know anything about Krishna, then that is not the right way to understand Bhagavad Gita. Chetasa sarva karmani mai sanyasya matparaha. In all activities, depend on me and work always under my protection. Buddhi yogam upashritya. In such devotional service, Macchitta satatam bhava. Be fully conscious of me. So this is the Macchitta. Macchitta Adgata Prana. These are the instructions. Here Buddhi Yoga, it is like we have to use our intelligence to surrender to Krishna. In whatever situation we may be, we should use that situation intelligently and surrender to Krishna. That is, using our intelligence for performing devotional service is called Buddhi Yoga. Lata Mataji.
Macchitta, Hare Krishna Prabhuji. One has no goal in life save and except acting in Krishna consciousness just to satisfy Krishna. And while working in that way, one should think of Krishna only. I have been appointed to discharge this particular duty by Krishna. While acting in such a way, one naturally has to think of Krishna. This is the perfect Krishna consciousness. Bhagavad Gita 18.57 purport. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Thank you. Anu Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Macchitaha. Now one may argue that Arjuna was acting under the when Krishna is not present. According to the direction of Krishna in this book, as well as under the guidance of the representative of Krishna, then the result will be the same. Bhagavad Gita 18.57 purport. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mataji. So whether Krishna is present personally in front of us, or we have Bhagavad Gita with us, which is spoken by Krishna, there is no difference. We should take the instruction and surrender to Krishna. Raghunath Prabhu.
Evam parampara praptam. One should act according to the orders of Krishna. This is very important point. That order of Krishna comes through disciple suppression from the bona fide spiritual master. Therefore, the spiritual master's order should be taken as the prime duty of life. If one gets a bona fide spiritual master and acts upon his direction, then one's perfection of life in Krishna consciousness is guaranteed. Bhagavad Gita 18.57 purport.
Thank you. So receive the knowledge through the parampara system. We should take the Bhagavad Gita knowledge through a proper system of knowledge. We should not hear Bhagavad Gita from anybody and anywhere else. It should be coming through the proper parampara system. It should be authorized knowledge. Vyasa prasadat Shrutavan etad guhyam aham param. This is the Sanjay speaking. By the mercy of Vyasadev, I have heard these most confidential tasks. One has to understand Krishna, not directly, but through the medium of spiritual master. The spiritual master is the transparent medium, although it is true that the experience is still direct. It is the mystery of the disciplic succession. So whatever the guru, the spiritual master says, the disciple should accept it from the spiritual master, because understanding the spiritual subject matter is not it is not a matter of speculation or our jugglery of words. We should understand it through the proper spirit. So personal applications, identify, discuss the relevance of significance of the verses 56 to 78. And mood and mission, substantiate the importance of surrender to Krishna as ultimate conclusion of Bhagavad Gita. And examples of Prabhupada displacing the sixth. Okay, this was not done. So Prabhupada displaying the 6 items of surrender in his behavior. Anybody would like to add for this point? We have seen the 6 characters of surrender. How Prabhupada has used these points and explain the activities of Srila Prabhupada, how he has used this. Anybody would like to add any points to this? Anukulyasya sankalpa, accept everything favorable. So whatever the technology in the Western world, whatever was present, Prabhupada used it for preaching Krishna consciousness. There were so many sadhus, they never used vehicles for traveling, or the computers, the mobile phones, the telephones at that time. All this technology, it was used by Prabhupada. Even the printing presses, he made the books and he published it. So through that, he has accepted all these favorable things for preaching Krishna consciousness and rejecting the unfavorable things, whatever, as Prabhupada is a pure devotee of the Lord. He has, for a fallen conditioned soul, if you say reject the unfavorable, means we should give up all the anarthas which are present in us. These anarthas are like, they are obstacle for coming near to the Lord. And Rakshasiti iti Vishwaso, firmly convinced that Krishna will give protection. As Prabhupada went to America, there were a lot of difficulties, as it is visible to us. Prabhupada had heart attack, and after going to America also, there was no proper place to live, and the preaching was not so easy. But still, Krishna, Prabhupada has taken it as a mercy of the Lord, and he was very firmly convinced in which he is doing the activities. And Goptritva Varnam Tata, firm conviction. There is no other maintainer than Krishna. Whatever Krishna does, that is final. As Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Ashlishya Vapadaratam Pinashtamam Adarshanan Marmahatam Karotva Yatatatava Vidadatulam Pato Matprananatastu Sa Eva Naparaha. Completely depending on Krishna as the maintainer of the living entity. There is no other maintainer than Krishna. Completely surrendering to Krishna, that is, whatever the devotee does, it is for the pleasure of the Lord. And what Krishna desires, accordingly the devotee will do. And the humility, Karpanya. Even though Srila Prabhupada has established the entire Krishna consciousness movement, he has not published his name, but he has made this Hare Krishna Mahamantra spread all over the world. Now, if you see people, they know Hare Krishna Mahamantra, everyone knows, almost everyone knows in this entire world what is Hare Krishna Mantra. But Prabhupada's name they may or may not have heard. So that is humility of Srila Prabhupada. He has taken the Srimad Bhagavatam. As he himself told, I just accompanied the Srimad Bhagavatam when it was traveling to America. Even though Prabhupada has made so much of effort to go to America and preach all these teachings of the parampara, but still he takes a very humble role in the in his position. So anybody would like to add any points? They can raise their hands. How Prabhupada has used these 6 symptoms, or he had these 6 symptoms of surrender to Krishna. Importance of attitude of service. Substantiated the importance of surrender to Krishna through the bona fide spiritual master coming in this session, that is parampara. Finally, anybody would like to read? They can raise their hand. Yeah, Lata Mataji.
Karishe Vachanam Tava. So to study Bhagavad Gita is to understand Krishna factually. When a person is in full knowledge, he naturally surrenders to Krishna. When Arjuna understood that it was Krishna's plan to reduce the unnecessary increase of population, he agreed to fight according to Krishna's desire. He again took up his weapon, his arrows and bow, to fight under the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Nandita Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandvat Pranam. Bhagavad Gita is not an ordinary book written by a poet or fiction writer. It is spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Any person fortunate enough to hear these teachings from Krishna or from his bona fide spiritual representative is sure to become a liberated person and get out of the darkness of ignorance. Prabhu, I can't read that last line, last part.
Yeah, it's Bhagavad Gita 8.72 to 73.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. So with this, we have come to the conclusion of 18th chapter. Anybody has any questions, any clarifications regarding today's session or the entire this 18th chapter? They can raise their hand. Anu Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, last session you said the shloka was everyone should do their prescribed duty even if they can do some other person's duty more better. So, Prabhuji, I think from the descending order, it seems correct. It is incorrect. Like if a Brahmana wants to do the work of a Vaishya or a Shudra, then it is incorrect. But as you said, Varna Ashram is a moving, flowing hierarchy. So if somebody is able to do, like a Shudra is able to do a Brahmana's work very nicely, so if one is able to do karma nicely, then how is it that he is not in that mode?
No. This is like Chaturvarnyam Maya Srishtam Guna Karma Vibhagashaha. The division itself is happening based on the guna, the mode, and the karma, the activities that he performs. So that the choice of your ashrama or the varna and ashrama is based on your guna and karma, not based on birth. This we should understand at the first point. And now you are asking how a person, if he is very good at Brahmana work and he is born in Shudra, you mean to say. That is what Krishna also says. If a Shudra, he is born in Shudra family, but he has the qualities of a Brahmana, then he has to be considered as Brahmana only. Yasayal lakshanam proktam pumso varnapi venjataha yadanyatrapi drishyeta tat tenaiva vinirdishet. Whatever nature, whatever character a person shows, accordingly he has to be identified, not with his birth. Now, what is the meaning of imitating others' activity? That means if a Say, for example, a Shudra, he is born Shudra and he is acting also Shudra, his behavior also Shudra only. But he wants to imitate a Brahmana or a Kshatriya. That is not allowed. Just thinking that they are at a hierarchy, they are better position. I just want to become like them. But it is not possible. In that sense, one should not imitate.
But Prabhuji, like Shudras, they were basically considered one who will do things by his hands, like a carpenter. In today's world, these kind of things are accepted. Like if somebody wants to be a good painter, an artist, a clay maker, pottery, idol making.
Yeah.
So these are not considered lower in mode of ignorance. These are skills.
Yeah.
So how is it that such person is considered a Shudra?
See, here one more thing we should understand. No work is great or no work is less. Everyone is respected in their own position. We don't have any disrespect for the Shudra. A Shudra, he is also respected for his loyalty to the master. So we should, your questions is like, if a potter or a painter, is he not respected in the society? Definitely he is respected for his activity. Nobody can do his job. He has to do that job. But why it is considered as lower? Because if you see their personal life, the mode of ignorance is more prominent. You can check with the symptoms that Krishna has told in Bhagavad Gita. Those symptoms will be visible in such people more. You cannot expect a painter to be very good at war. He don't know how to throw the arrow. Or if somebody challenges him to fight, he will run away. And it is not his duty also to fight back. And a Brahmana, he is always pure, doing a pure life. For a Brahmana, he doesn't say any lie. Whatever you ask, he will tell the truth. But this kind of character, you may not find in a person who is a potter or a carpenter. They will have their own excuses to follow certain way of life. So in that way, it is considered as ignorance or passion or goodness.
Prabhuji, in 47, it is said it is better to engage in one's own occupation, even though one may perform it imperfectly, than to accept another's occupation and perform it perfectly. Duties prescribed according to one's nature are never affected by sinful reactions. How is it that a person can perform a Brahmana's work very well, and but still he has to be a Shudra?
No. You're again confusing with birth. Don't identify a person with the birth. See, a doctor's son can become an engineer or a lawyer. After he graduates, you have to call him as a engineer or a lawyer only. You cannot call him as a doctor. Your father is a doctor. How can I call you as a lawyer? This question is not valid. So, not by birth, by activities, he is considered as a Brahmana and he is a Brahmana. There is no question of going back to his birth.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Any other question? Okay, if there are no more questions, then